Well, speaking of the NCAA tournament, we're going to be talking some bracketology. It feels like it's early, but Emma actually
I
pointed out to
know.
us that it's right around the corner.
I was
Actually,
like, "It's so early. What are we doing?"
so,
Emma was like, "Child, there's like a month left."
yeah, yeah. She was like, it's actually not. So, but the
You're right,
top
you're right,
four
you're right.
seeds: UConn number 1 overall, followed by UCLA, South Carolina, and Texas. The Huskies were unanimous number 1 in the AP poll this week, and that's, I mean, I don't think anyone's arguing that.
Mm-mm.
2 seeds: Vanderbilt, LSU, Iowa, and Louisville. The 3 seeds: Michigan, Michigan State, Kentucky, Ohio State. 4 seeds: Texas Tech, Baylor, Maryland, TCU. The last 4 in: Utah, Iowa State, South Dakota State, and Clemson.
Mm.
And the first 4 out: Richmond, BYU, Auburn, and Virginia. So when you look at this bracketology that has been dropped, do you have any issues here?
Again, this is not the end all be all. There's still more games to play. So these are effectively mocks, right? But for me, what stood out is you look at Texas Tech. I think now they've dropped two, right, on the season, but a team that for a long stretch was undefeated. That the best we're seeing in this mock up is a 4 seed. I don't know. That's kind of wild to me. Richmond first 4 out. I mean, obviously I talked about Maggie Dugan and what could potentially come from the A10. So I have a little A10 theme here on today's episode.
As you
So
should,
I,
as
I
you should.
mean, just that's what the
You're
prep.
immersed in it right now.
That's
So,
where the prep has me. No,
yeah.
but I think for me, am I gonna like be on some kind of picket line or out canvassing to have some of these teams maybe positioned a little bit different? No, and I think it goes to the conversations, Alicia, that we've been having just about how teams are ranked weekly, even in the power rankings, how some of their wins or losses, for that matter, are weighted comparative to other teams. And it's just interesting that a team that for so long was undefeated, is looking at a 4 seed. I think something else that stands out is, Louisville in that 2 seed. I think that speaks to how they've been able to turn things around as of late, because, Louisville is a team that I think in the past few years has kind of been up and down. And I think they probably want a little more continuity. Iowa, we talked about earlier, Vanderbilt as well, and LSU. I think on our last episode, we talked about how they got some pretty significant wins and how that helps, right? When you are of the elk, right, of LSU, you're a program that's well known and you're able to play well against other top teams. That's really boded well for them, is boding well for them when it comes to here. Finally, I was like early in the season, I was like, ooh, okay, y'all. I said I'm rocking with UCLA. I liked what I heard at Media Day. I also, so A10 Media Day and Big Ten Media Day the last 2 years I've covered for CBS Sports. And I was like, I believe in UCLA. That, what was it? The 14 consecutive weeks, however many consecutive weeks at number 1 in the poll. That was last year, but what can they do in this campaign? And I think that it's been a little more subdued, maybe not as much energy or as much pull, certainly, as they did last year, but they're getting it done. And Lauren Betts has a lot to do with that. Sienna
Mhm.
Betts getting back, and getting integrated is huge for them. So, not surprised, although I was maybe a little nervous earlier in the season about UCLA, but they're getting it together.
Yeah, I definitely was when I went and watched them play early in the season. I was like, don't know if this is the same team. And I voiced
Right.
that on here, and I
Mhm,
stand by what I said at the time.
mhm, mhm.
But you said a lot of the things that I would say. I don't want to just reiterate what you said, but I think what gets me excited the most when I see this is just I want March Madness to be here, like with the quickness, but also the top 4 teams have been locked in
Yeah.
locked in. We know who they are. They've been
Mhm,
steady.
mhm,
Um,
mhm.
a loss here or there, but like nothing that would make them fall out of that top 4.
Yeah.
But really below that, there there is no guarantees. Like these teams are not playing around, okay,
No.
at all. And so
Yeah.
I really think by the time we get there, we're going to see a lot. Like after those first four, we're
Shocking.
going to see
Yeah.
a lot of different. Like we will see a far different bracketology,
Yeah.
than we have right now. And it's by no means are any of those locked in as far as I'm concerned underneath those four.
Yeah, I think Michigan and Ohio State have the capacity to play like Wreck-It Ralph here, right? And really be disruptors one way or another. Right now, Michigan in that 3 seed over, and this is the bracketology from CBSSports.com. So make sure you head over to CBSSports.com and check it out. Our women's basketball bracketology. But yeah, I think, even Maryland and Baylor, TCU, again, the kind of weight that they had last year dwindled a little bit, but I think they're right in that mix, right? Of teams that you cannot take for granted 100%. So, but I do think there's even among these teams, there can absolutely be some movement here.
Yeah, and we were looking at Iowa State too. We talked a little bit about Iowa State,
Yeah.
and them being on the bubble. They lost 5 consecutive games, which is really tough, right? We saw dominance, especially from Audie Crooks, at the
Mhm.
beginning of the year, and there was a
Mhm.
lot of buzz around them. But when you lose 5 consecutive games, like that doesn't look good for you. It's not good. And in the fashion that they lost as
Yeah.
well, I think is something to look at. Before they just won against Cincinnati, and Jada Williams dropped 44 points. We definitely need to see more of that, but
Yep.
unfortunately, that's where they should, in my opinion, after dropping 5 consecutive, in the way that they did, they're at the right
Yeah.
spot, but it doesn't mean they can't come up, just
Right.
like we're talking about with everybody else.
Exactly. Not the end all be all. So what can the Cyclones do now? Can they really fix things? And the exposure on the defensive side, I think, is where we're seeing teams start to slide a little, but other teams, their game planning and their scout is what has them rising up.
Yeah, I mean, they're adjusting to Audie Crooks. Jada Williams, like we need that 44 points, not maybe 44. That's kind of hard, but we need that type of play from her continuously. And we know she can do it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And just more support. We talked about that earlier
Yep.
with Iowa State. Is it really was Audie
The Audie Crooks
for
show.
it was her show, and
And what a show, right?
yeah, for
What a
sure.
show it's
She's a
been.
very talented player for sure,
Yeah.
but
But
a team can't rest on one person alone.
100%.
Period.
Yeah, that's just not where the game is right now for all of the reasons that we've said on this episode and episodes past. I mean, yes, again, you're getting those performances from players like Sarah Strong, and it's not just that UConn has at the arsenal. And it's all of the things that are done on the what some people say, not me, the non-sexy defensive side. Again, that is where we're seeing
says
this
that?
movement. I mean, I just have heard. I've heard. I don't say that.
Well, I'm not trying to hear it at all.
Okay, period.
This
Period.
defense
So
is
we,
very
not
sexy.
we.
Yeah.
The collective we outside of this podcast, maybe, but not you and
Yeah.
I, we.